Somewhere in a federal database that almost nobody reads, there's a number that tells a very different story than the headlines. Not a press release, not a politician's soundbite, a contract ledger, 5 delivery orders, 5 contractors, 1 federal agency, and a combined award value of roughly $1,027 million, close to $1.03 billion as an estimate, for border infrastructure and border wall barrier construction. Some of these contracts don't even start their work until 2026. One of them runs all the way to February 2029. So before we talk about what anyone says is happening at the border, let's talk about what the paperwork says is scheduled to happen there. Here's the core of it. Regardless of how the political conversation around the border wall shifts from one administration or news cycle to the next, the underlying federal contract data tells a consistent story of continued activity. Department of Homeland Security award records show delivery orders for border infrastructure and border wall barrier construction with periods of performance stretching into 2027, 2028, and even 2029. These are not proposals or promises. They are awarded contracts with contractors attached, dollar values attached, and dates attached. The presence of these active delivery orders running through 2027 into 2029 indicates, as an estimate rather than a certainty, that DHS border wall and infrastructure contracting activity has not fully stopped as of the dates covered by this evidence. That data doesn't map cleanly onto any narrative claiming the build-out has fully stopped. This isn't a story about who's right in a political argument. It's a story about what the contracting record actually shows, and how that record complicates a simple story either way. Let's go through the ledger itself, because the specifics matter more than the summary. First, Fisher Sand and Gravel Company. This contractor holds 2 separate DHS awards. The first, award number 7033029, is for border infrastructure construction, with a total award value to date of $224,697,989. Its period of performance runs from September 28, 2024 to September 30, 2027. The second Fisher Award, 7016337, also for border infrastructure construction, carries a value of $183,009,415, running from September 28, 2023 to March 30, 2025. Next, Granite Construction Company. Their award, 7001C25194, covers border infrastructure barrier gaps design-build construction, valued at $193,687,547, with a period of performance from March 14, 2025 to November 28, 2028. Then there's Barnard Spencer Joint Venture, holding awards 7001C25109. Their scope is different from raw wall panels. It's to construct and install 60 miles of system attributes, detection equipment, lighting, cabling, and related infrastructure. That award is valued at $225,554,864, with a period of performance from September 19, 2025 to April 12, 2028. Finally, LMI Consulting, LLC holds awards 70320, which is different in kind again, quality assurance inspection support services for the construction of border wall barrier and attributes along the southwest border. Value, $200 million. Period of performance, May 20th, 2026 to February 27th, 2029. Add those 5 together and you get approximately $1,027 million, or about $1.03 billion, as an estimate, in total award value to date, across contractors doing physical construction, design-build work, system attributes, and inspection oversight. It's also worth noting these DHS awards sit alongside a separate, earlier Department of Defense award, SLSCO, Ltd., held award W50UW820F0010 for the El Paso primary and secondary barrier wall replacement project, covering 34.97 miles, valued at $232,387,239, with a period of performance from April 22, 2020 to September 2, 2021. That one is a different agency, a different era, and already closed out. It's included here only to show that border barrier contracting under DoD predates and is separate from the current DHS cluster. And on the timeline question specifically, the ledger shows DHS-attributed construction-related periods of performance extending as far as February 27, 2029, meaning contracted activity is scheduled to continue at least through early that year. Taken together, these 5 active DHS delivery orders running through 2027 into 2029 support the reading, offered here as an estimate, that DHS border wall and infrastructure construction contracting activity has not fully stopped as of the dates this evidence covers. Now, let's be fair to the skeptics, because there's a real gap here worth naming. Recent political rhetoric has claimed that border wall construction activity has fully stopped, hypothetically. That's a claim we're treating as disputed, not established, and this evidence set doesn't actually confirm or refute that rhetoric directly. It simply shows contract awards exist. There's also a deeper assumption buried in how a story like this often gets told, and it deserves scrutiny rather than acceptance. The idea that an award's total value to date and its stated period of performance reliably indicate that active physical construction work is occurring throughout that period, hypothetically. That link is not something the contract data itself establishes. It's a plausible but unproven reading, and it remains unverified, hypothetically. A period of performance is a scheduling window, not a live progress report. A contract can be awarded, funded, and scheduled without a single foot of new fencing going up in a given month. It's worth being precise about the limits of this evidence, because precision is the whole point of a story built on federal contract data rather than talking points. The award records establish contract-level facts. Who holds the award, what it's for, its total value to date, and its period of performance. That's it. They do not show physical construction progress on the ground. They do not show completion status of any particular mile of fencing or barrier. They do not show spending drawdown, meaning we don't know from this data alone how much of that roughly $1.03 billion, as an estimate, has actually been spent versus merely obligated. A delivery order with a 2029 end date could reflect steady, ongoing work, or it could reflect a schedule that gets modified, paused, or rescoped before then. The data as presented doesn't distinguish between those futures. And again, the broader claim that periods of performance reliably track with active physical work in progress is itself unverified, hypothetically, and should be treated as an open question, not a settled fact. What we can say with confidence is narrower and more modest. Awarded, dated, funded delivery orders for border construction and related support exist on the books well into 2027, 2028, and 2029. So why does any of this matter beyond the border itself? Because it's a case study in how to check a political narrative against a primary source instead of a headline. Federal award data, of the kind published through USASpending, is public, searchable, and largely immune to spin. A delivery order either has a 2029 end date or it doesn't. A contractor either was awarded $200 million or wasn't. That makes it a genuinely useful tool for anyone trying to verify claims about government activity, whether the topic is border infrastructure, defense procurement, or any other federally contracted program. In this specific case, the presence of active DHS delivery orders with periods of performance running through 2027 into 2029 indicates, as an estimate, that DHS border wall and infrastructure construction contracting activity has not fully stopped, at least as of the dates covered by this evidence. That's a narrower and more careful claim than the wall is being built, or the wall isn't being built. And that narrowness is exactly what makes it defensible. If a claim about government spending or construction activity crosses your feed, you don't have to just take someone's word for it, or take ours. Award numbers like the ones we walked through today are searchable on public federal spending databases, and you can look up the contractor, the value, and the period of performance yourself. That's the whole method behind the TheSourceLedger, not telling you what to conclude, but showing you where the primary documents live so you can weigh the evidence on its own terms. Subscribe if you want more stories built the same way, from the contract, not the commentary, and drop a comment with a claim you'd like us to trace back to its source.